Good morning, Southern California, AM 1220, KHTS. Your host, Fred Arnold, in the Valley Industry Association Business Spotlight, joined by Rich Sherman. Rich, real estate agent. You got to be 20 years in the business, 2 decades?
25.
I got to be careful. I should say 2 decades. So does that sound worse than 25?
No, either way. So I started when I was 19, so you can say 25. It works for me.
Yeah, you joined your mom's team at the time, right?
Yeah. My mom was selling real estate just before I got involved, and I sort of got sucked into it and been doing it ever since. It's been a lot of fun. It's a fun way to spend a life.
Yeah, I remember meeting you years ago through Micro Signal.
Yeah, probably 15 years ago.
92, 93?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, a while ago.
So, programs. We're going to talk about free loan modifications. You started this a long time ago.
Yeah, we found that, unfortunately, the banks, God bless them, are not as often as honest as they should be with these sort of things. And sometimes it's because of staffing. Sometimes it's because of intentional things. But anyway, we got involved in doing free loan modification work for people, about almost 15 years ago now. And we've been doing it for free ever since. We have a very, very good track record. We've saved a lot of houses. We're very proud of that. I don't know if we may be over 1,000 now, houses that we've saved in and around the Santa Clarita Valley, greater LA area that are people who are in their houses now because of the work that we did. Unfortunately, people don't often understand the options that they have. They think that, whatever the bank tells them they think is just sort of gospel. They don't understand that maybe if you're only talking to the bank and only getting your advice from the bank, that they may not have the same agenda for you, or their agenda may not be the same as yours. I'll put it to you that way, because people have options out there that they don't think they have. So we help them out all the time.
One thing I'll mention is the banks are professionals. They want to make a profit, and they're going to do everything they can to maximize that profit. And sometimes it's not in the best interest of the consumer simply because they have an agenda. They're there to make a profit. They're there to minimize losses for their shareholders.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. They exist to support their shareholders, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't obviously work with the agenda of most homeowners. We've got one right now, for example, where they told them that their only option was to do a deed in lieu to avoid a foreclosure, and they have equity in the house. So that's ridiculous. They're about to give away $100,000 worth of equity. Now, we got involved and obviously changed the calculus quite a bit. We got the foreclosure sale put off for a number of months, which gives us time to sell the house, and we're in escrow now, and they should make a little over $100,000. Whereas before, we met about 4 months ago, they were just going to give up the house and walk away, and that would have been very, very difficult for them. Now they're walking out with a little over $100,000. So we're seeing all sorts of stuff. The other thing we're seeing a lot of lately is what we call zombie seconds, where these seconds where people haven't paid them, haven't touched them in 5, 10, in some cases 15 years, that all of a sudden are coming back from the dead.
Because there's equity.
Yeah, well, because the banks knew there was no point in going after you in 2005, 2006, 2008 because you had no equity.
Zombie seconds. Yeah. That's the first I've ever heard of that one.
Well, it's.
Did you create that one?
No. I wish they could remember. You'll hear more about it. What's happening is a lot of people who held seconds, a lot of the big banks who held seconds in, say, 2008, 9, and 10, have sold those seconds to collection companies who are now sort of sitting on them, or were sitting on them until now. The real estate market has come up enough that now all of a sudden what was upside down with the first is now maybe right side up, and there's some room there. And so the seconds are coming out of the woodwork with company names you've never heard of often, and they're demanding payment because this is a debt that's 5, 10. I've got one right now. The debt is 11 years old, and they're not. These collection companies are not always the most honest to deal with, and they say fairly outlandish things. So again, if you don't want to just get your information from the bank you owe money to, you want to reach out to other experts. I suggest calling myself. I'm at 661-714-1400. You can call me at that number 24 hours a day to just get the information. Because, if you go into one of these things and you're only listening to the bank, you're probably not getting the best advice. You're probably not getting the whole story.
You always need to listen to an expert, hire an expert, or get involved with an expert. Yeah. Let's talk about rental rebates.
Yeah, and one last thing on free loan. We do them for free. The loan modification stuff is completely free of charge. We don't charge people for it. We're happy to help you, and our success rate's very high. But yeah, moving into rental rebate. Rental rebate's another fun program for us. We're realtors, so we believe everybody should be owners. And we have a program called the Rental Rebate Program, where if you're currently renting a property, we can give you up to 10% of the rent you've already paid back to go buy a house, which is a pretty powerful incentive, I would think. Most renters, unfortunately, are in a position where they get inside of the sort of rental cycle that they feel they can't get out of, because every time they put a few bucks away, their rent goes up a little bit. And then they'll try to put away a few bucks and their rent goes up a little bit. And in an area like Santa Clarita, the rental ratios to ownership ratios are pretty low, so the rentals sell for a lot. They rent for a lot. It's expensive to live here. It just is. So, if your average rent is $2,000 a month or $2,500 a month, you could buy a house. You know better than anybody. You could buy a house for that. Yep. So the trick is to get them into a situation, because they might have together the down payment, but they often forget about the closing costs and the other things associated with that. And again, I know you know that better than anybody. So we step into that breach and we say, okay, here's some money to make that work for you, to make it a little bit easier to get you into a house. We've had great success with it. We've converted a lot of people from renters to being owners. And, that's a big part of what we do.
I think any incentive where you can give someone the confidence to move forward in that extra few dollars, because sometimes that's all they need. Resale, renovation.
Well, giving money away is helpful as well.
Yeah.
The resale renovation program, same sort of thing. The basic idea with that is for sellers, because we know when people, as realtors, we know that houses in the best condition sell for the most money the quickest. As realtors, we work on commission, so the more we sell your house for, the more money we make. We have the same goals there. And we've had situation after situation over the years where for a couple of bucks, carpet, paint, that sort of thing, the house is going to be worth dramatically more money. People tend to buy, it depends on the area and what they're looking for, but people tend to buy on what they see. It's a very emotional sort of purchase for them. And your house may be the greatest house in the whole wide world, but if you haven't changed that carpet in 20 years, you're not getting as much of that house for that house as you should. And carpet's not that expensive. Painting is not that expensive. It may be more than the individual homeowner has, but we step into that breach as well. And what we do with that program is we can give you up to 1% of the perceived sales value, the projected sales value of the house. We give you that money up front, and we use that money to renovate the property. So if you're looking, the average sales price is around $550,000. $5,500 can do an awful lot with a house. And we did one in Castaic recently where we got about $80,000 more for the house. When this is an extreme example, obviously, by spending about $2,500 in carpet paint, we fixed a cabinet. So these are things the homeowner didn't have the money to do, or didn't think it would make that big a difference. And we sort of did that as sort of a loss leader. We've got another one that we're working on right now in Canyon Country where I think we spent about $6,000 on the house, mostly flooring, I think, in this case. But we expect to sell the house for about $70,000, $60,000 more than the 5 or 6 other agents who they talked to told them it was worth. So we do this sort of stuff all the time. We're always doing, public outreach stuff, trying to make it a little bit easier. The bottom line is there is a substantial amount in a real estate transaction. So we make a little bit less. We shift a little of that money to the consumer. We make it a little bit easier for them to buy. And as a result, we do more. Yeah. So there's really no, the business idea of the more you give, the more you get. I say this all the time. The idea of that isn't revolutionary. It just sort of seems that way because so few people operate that way these days. And we not only do we put our money where our mouth is, we're eager to put our money where our mouth is. We do it all the time. I don't know of anyone else who's going to give a seller money to fix up their house to make it easier to sell. Yeah. I don't know of anyone else who's going to give a first-time buyer money to make it easier to get them into a house. Yeah. These are all things that we do. And the loan modifications, of course, doing those for free is also a big part of what we do. So we try to support the public. The public supports us. We know who our clientele is. And without our clientele, we're nothing and nowhere. So we want to do everything we can to support them.
It's definitely the giver's game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's money to be had for everybody. And there's actually more money, less money left on the table by the consumer.
Yeah,
and I think that's the key.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Those who want to reach out to you, Rich?
Call me anytime. I'm at 661-714-1400. You can text me or call me at that number anytime. I try to answer 24 hours a day. Again, it's 661-714-1400. And if you're curious, you can also just Google my last name. It's spelled rather uniquely. It's S as in sugar, Z as in zebra, ERMAN. So it's Rich Sherman. And you can see some of the things we've done in the past and some of the other things we've done with people where I show up a lot. But call me, Google me, whatever you'd like, but get in contact with me and I'll be happy to help you any way I can.
Rich, thanks for coming in.
Happy to be in. Thanks for bringing me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rich Sherman, realtor in the Santa Clarita Valley and surrounding areas. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the Valley Industry Association Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Fred Arnold on AM 1220 KHTS.